G'day there. I'm going to run a little tour concerning the Kelly gang where they shot the 3 police at Stringy Bark Creek. I've been studying this area for quite some time, and I believe that the true site where all this happened in October of 1878 has never really been recognised, despite certain efforts by the authorities with the help of notable historians. Each in their own time have avoided bringing the viewer, the visitor, to the right site. Now I'm going to lead you through a Google Earth presentation which may help to identify the real site. I'm doing this in a primitive way on the computer screen. I've got Google Earth open at the moment. I'm going to use a pointer, which is a little green pointer there. So this area here is Mansfield, up to Bridge Creek, Tolmy, and from there we take a road up to Stringy Bark Creek. I'm going to zoom in to get to Stringy Bark Creek. I'll just let me organise this a little bit better. Now you'll see this is the road that we come up from Tolmy, and this is the road to Tatong. And when we get closer here, you'll see this was private property back in the 1930s, right up until the 1950s. Virtually all this area here had been partly cleared. Every tree had been ring barked, and most of it is regrowth. Now you'll notice that at this junction here, you'll see my pointer. Stringy Bark Creek runs from north to south, so this is south and that's north. We have got a marker here which is the current camping car park, and it's the Stringy Bark Creek Historic Reserve. And over here we have the Stringy Bark Creek camping ground, and all the way down through the bush here, all the way down here is Stringy Bark Creek. Now it's interesting to note that this area has been part of a disputed area for about 100 years, maybe longer. I have marked the site of 2 huts there, and I'm going to show you why this is the correct site, despite what numerous parties have claimed otherwise. So I'm going to engage our little man. This is the little man that'll take us on a guided tour, and I'm going to plonk him on the road just before the turn off, and we'll see where we go from here. Now we are on the Tatong Road leading up to Stringy Bark Creek. So if we just move forward, you'll see that eventually we get to a turn off, and this is the turn off here, which goes to the left, and so a little bit further along, then we'll turn around and we'll go into this area, and you'll notice that over here is the sign. I'll turn it around a bit. You'll see the sign, Stringybark Creek, 600 metres to the Kelly tree. So this is the turn off to this is Stringybark Creek Road. So the first section we do is now on that first section where the dogleg starts. So we'll just continue. You'll see the images are fairly poor quality, but remember that Google Earth took these images in around 2005. So they're fairly interesting in that you'll see that it's before any real developments. There's a big tree on the left and the right. There's some old trees there. They're probably regrowth, but some of them might have been small trees at the time. So we've gone into the dogleg, and we're now travelling along Stringybark Creek Road, and I'll just continue like this. Now you'll see that in the distance the road dips down a bit and rises again. It's not exactly a beautiful road and scenery, but it's certainly Stringybark Creek Forest, and it's very, very interesting to be there. Now you'll notice that there are some sizable trees there. They were probably smallish trees at the time when the farmers were told to leave the area. The water board decided they wanted all this land for water catchment. Now Stringybark Creek is actually a spring. Now if we turn around a bit like this, you'll see there's a lot of dead wood laying around, and not far away here you'll see that we are already now approaching the picnic ground, which is created in order to give tourists a chance to have a picnic. So we'll go straighten up again. So we're just outside the picnic ground there, and here you'll see a sign. Hang on. The sign here, which indicates it's a Stringybark Creek Reserve, and you'll see the picnic ground is well established there. This is created in about 71, 72, and now if we go on, now you'll notice that on this side there's a lot of digging going on, and it was around about 2004, 2005 that they were redeveloping the area. The car park, which is to our right, is right here, is still not created. A toilet block was built around about here. Maybe the heap of dirt had something to do with that. And we're looking north again. Now you can see the little hut they built, the little show display there, which is all part of the display area. And of course the Kelly tree was virtually up that track. This is not the Kelly tree, but it's sort of in this, behind this bush here. So the Kelly tree played a part in creating this this particular development back in the 70s. So now we'll continue on. Interestingly, in about 1884, a surveyor came here and wanted to create his first map, and there's a tree marked here with a sign on it, which wasn't relevant. go back one, you see this particular tree here. What I think that was just a notice for the workers there. But a little bit further on, at this location here, this tree here, this one here, I marked that with a marker as the site where the first hut on the map was plotted. And there was a cleared area in the background here. So the surveyor noticed in 1884 that there was a hut there. And ever since then, people have believed that that was associated with the site where the police had camped. So now we are approaching this area here on the right, which is, I'll tell you a little bit about that later on, but this hill here is called White Hill. We refer to it as White Hill. And the reason it's white is there's a lot of gravel, and it's part of an old river system, and this particular White Hill still shows its gravel close to the surface. Now, we're just about near, we're still near whereby, I'll just go back a bit, we're still near where the first hut was marked, which was supposed to be associated with where the police were killed. But I can tell you now that after having examined and walked through this whole area, there's only one place that fits all the requirements to know where the true site is. And if this is White Hill, we're now going to take you to the true site down the road, and you'll see in the distance a red hill. And off we go. Now we're getting down to the bottom of this particular run. It's a bit of a dip down, and on the left here, and I'll show you down here. There's a swamp. I can't really show you that clearly because the images don't show it, but I will take you further up the hill to near the top of this particular hill, and I have marked across on the Google Earth map roughly where the two huts are where the police had camped. And sooner or later we'll come across the area. Now I'll zoom around again, and you'll see there's my line there. This is the little white line there. That's part of a cross that I've marked, and we are now looking into a flat area down there, which is where the police had camped. And we'll go around again. Now you'll notice that no matter what I do, I'll try and give you an idea, but you see how if I now turn this around, how this ground drops away, and when I turn it around the other way it rises very steeply, and it's in this area. This was the slope in the background of the photo that was taken of the site at the time. Interestingly, at the time when I came there, all these trees that you'll see lying down were all standing up. And why are they all laying down? So there's the line, there's the part of the cross of the site of where the two huts are. That's in the bottom area. And what happened was in 2004 I tried to get the DSE, which is now DELP, to recognise the site, but just across the other way, of the other side of the creek, is Ian Jones's site. And Ian Jones, being the guru that he was, took over and instructed the DSE and the Mansfield Historical Society that he knew where the site was, and it was on the other side of the creek. This then meant that any development was going to be in preference to Ian Jones's site. And even though I was a stakeholder in the actual identifying the site and having it recognised for tourism, I was not even invited to the meetings. And as a consequence, the power that Ian Jones had over the groups and the influence he had on the DSE, he had all the trees that were on top of this hill, on this side of the hill, all knocked down to hide the slope, which is one of the in the Berman photo. And this is now in 2000 and roughly 2005, and it's still the same. The hill and the slope in the background of the photo is still hardly seen because of the mess they made of it. So with that, I'll take you back down again and I'll show you another site. We're heading north again now, and during a previous time there was a documentary being made about the Glenrowan Inn site, and I was invited to be part of the Stringybark Creek section of that film when I was replaced by another man who was somehow a friend of Ian Jones. His name was Linton Briggs, and Linton Briggs believed that the true site was over here on the left in that big green patch that I showed you before. Now we're getting up to it now. Just bear with me, we're approaching it now, and when I stop here you'll see I'll get a bit further, and we're now on this is the creek side, and this is the green patch that Linton Briggs had believed was the true site where the police had camped. He believed this. He believed it for 48 years apparently, and when he and Mr. Jones were part of that documentary, the documentary is being shot, and Ian Jones wanted to take precedent over the shooting of the film, and he was interrupted by Linton Briggs and said, no, Ian, I'll show you the real site. And of course the camera's rolling, and the film producers are scratching their head, because first of all it's way over on the left over here, and now all of a sudden it's 200 metres further north, and this is the site that Linton Briggs had identified. But the trouble was that it had a lot of nice trees on it, and the DSE, in sympathy with Jones, knocked all the trees down. So this site was destroyed as well before anybody could do any real tests. So that is the story, and it's a pretty pathetic one. The authorities cannot seem to believe 15 years or even nearly 20 years of research that has gone into these sites. So if this was the site, then where was the Berman photo taken? Because there's no real slope here. You can't take a picture with a campsite like in the Berman photo with a slope. There's just no slope. So now the only slope that could have worked here is over here on the other side of the creek. But now we can't really show you properly because it's too wooded. But the creek is about, and the slope is about 200 metres away, when I know for a fact that the Berman photo slope is only about 40 metres away. So now we'll continue and we'll show you where fairly recently another documentary was being made, and a man, archaeologist called Adam Ford, came here. He's only had about a month's time to prepare himself, and all of a sudden he now discovers that the true site of the police camp is here at the picnic ground. But likewise, no matter where you look, there's no real slope that you can take in as being part of them. So they did a lot of filming here. The Kelly tree is somewhere in this area over here. It's hidden now by all this bush. So it's a bit pathetic really that the authorities will believe and listen to qualified archaeologists, but they won't listen to amateur historians who've spent 15 years of their life as an interest trying to solve these mysteries. So now we'll go back down here a bit and I'll show you a couple of things. I think it was a little bit further. We'll go a bit further, and there was a house. There was a house in the old days just over here. So this is the picnic ground. Incidentally, the same surveyor that marked a hut 160 metres to the right also plotted the same hut just within the boundary fence here in that patch there, and it's attributed to the same place where the Kelly shot the police. So we can see that this is really quite a lot of nonsense. But there was a hut, there was a house standing here, which apparently was owned by a family called well, maybe it wasn't even McCrum's, but some pioneer family that bought the land off McCrum built that house there. I'm not sure who that might have been. It might have been Beasley. So now we'll go on and we'll go back down the road again, and you'll see there's very, very little chance of any of these areas being anywhere associated with Kelly Police Camp, even though some people are saying it was. There is, the evidence is that you must have a slope and also 5 places of 2 huts. And now we'll go out and we go down the road again. So there you go, we're going back down, all the way down, and this is probably the end of what I wanted to show you, and for now we hope that you're able to appreciate the difficulty that we all have, amateur historians, in having sites recognised, despite well, now 17 years almost since we came across the 5 places of 2 huts. Thank you for watching.